What up, YouTube? Franchise 2 Sports here, back again with another video. I wanted to do this for some time now, and I thought it'd be fun to do. As a history major and a lover of basketball, I decided to go back in time to the 2000-2001 Milwaukee Bucks season. Trying to figure out what happened that season. Because when that season actually was going on, I was only 10 going to 11. Man, it's outside of the 2018-2019 season when the Bucks lost in 4 games to the eventual champions Toronto Raptors. This will be 2001 season will be the last time the Bucks will make it to the conference finals. Now, the results of the 2000-2001 finals for the Bucks was rather perplexing. One with the ups and downs. But before we continue, subscribe, like, comment, share, do all that good stuff. Going into the season, the Bucks finished the previous season 42-40, an 8th seed in the East. That would lose to the Indiana Pacers that had Reggie Miller in 5 games, when the first round was only the best of 5. As a 10-year-old, maybe even 9, I don't remember. As a 10-year-old, 9-year-old, whatever, I was devastated. Big time. I was hurt. And this season coming up, the 2001 season, will kind of be the season that, now I'm thinking about it, maybe it was the season that cemented my love for the game in the NBA. Going into the offseason, the Bucks would acquire Lindsey Hunter, point guard from the Detroit Pistons. They also would trade for Jason Caffey from the Warriors. Caffey was already had a ring at the time playing with Jordan and the Bulls in the 90s, so that gave the team some championship experience. Plus, they signed forwards Mark Pope and Jerome Kersey, who just won a ring with the Spurs in 1999. This all was to boost the bench that was, I think, adding depth to the, the big three, and Ray Allen, Glenn Robinson, Sam Cassell. This also happened back when Milwaukee couldn't really attract big-time free agents. I don't know if there was ever a shift. You know what? It could have been a shift somewhere among the 80s and 90s when it came to free agents. I think it was the whole, from what I know and experience I know growing up in Milwaukee, from what I heard from my dad, that some of the players didn't like coming to Milwaukee because said racism in the 70s. Maybe that could have been it. And then also other places had more thrill than little old Milwaukee. But then again, Milwaukee was one of the bigger cities in the 70s and 80s. Unlike now, still top 30 population wise. But anyways, we're not going to go on about population stuff. Speaking of the stars, Ray Allen was a young up and coming star, coming off his first All-Star bid in the previous year. Not really, I don't think he was known for his 3-point shot at the time like he was later on. But he was one of those guards that can cut, slash, have moves, and get to the basket. People don't know about that. They just think Ray Allen could shoot. Well, anyways, Glenn Robinson was a former first-round overall pick, also a All-Star and also a good shooter himself. Both in this year, Ray Allen and Glenn Robinson both averaged 22.9 points a game. Sam Cassell was a mid-range specialist and a closer of sorts. He was also a former NBA champion with the Houston Rockets in the 1993-94 season, which was actually his rookie year. He won a ring as a role player to Hakeem, and then winning it again the next year as a 6th seed, along with Hakeem and Clyde Drexler, sweeping the Shaq-led Orlando Magic in 4-0. After the 2 championships, Cassell was traded to the Suns, along with Robert Horry and others for Charles Barkley. And then traded mid-season to Dallas, then traded to the Nets, who he stayed with for 2 seasons before he was traded again to Milwaukee. Now, outside of the big three, they had Tim Thomas, who averaged 12 points a game. Those 4 were really the main scorers on the team. They had other help defensively and on the offense, rebounds with Scott Williams, and rebounds also with Irvin Johnson at center. He wasn't the best center, but he was a serviceable center for that year. This team was more guards too, but this could be seen as the intro to what we see now with most rosters starting with forwards and guards playing on the perimeter. Draft wise, they had Joe Persbrilla, who really didn't do anything in his NBA career. I think they trade him later on to Portland. But they also drafted a one Michael Redd in the second round, but he really wasn't a factor this year. I don't think he became a factor to the next year and beyond, to the star he will become. Let's see. Under the head coach, George Karl, he was used to going to the championships. Hey, he may have never won any because when he went to championships, coach teams to the championship was the Sonics, and the Sonics twice in the championship played Jordan and the Bulls. But after Karl's days with Seattle, he did find a new home here in '98. Now, the season didn't start off the way it should. He started 3-9. And it had me wondering what the hell was going on. Like, I don't know what was going on. Nobody knew what was going on. And much of the news within Milwaukee, let's just say the sports section on the news on every channel in Milwaukee was wondering the same thing. I remember someone around the town was saying, it's like, oh, another 41-41 season on the way. But something changed. One, of course, is put more emphasis on defense. And also using more Tim Thomas. I think he was like second or third runner up to sixth man that year too. I think at times he's putting the starting lineup as well, which also helped. But they eventually would turn up winning the next 23 out of 29 games. Beating some good teams. I think they swept the Lakers that year. I think they swept the Spurs. Maybe even Dallas and the Raptors, who were also good. And some other several teams that was good around that time. But they had a slow rivalry in a way with the 76ers, who was pretty much number one for most of that season. By All-Star break, that was 29-18, with Ray Allen and Glenn Robinson earning a bid for the All-Star game in Washington. They were on the bench for that, but I think that same year, Ray Allen won the three-point contest that weekend, beating out Dirk, Steve Nash, and Allen Houston. Anybody remember Allen Houston? After the All-Star break, the success continued. I think they only lost another 12 games, finishing the season 52-30, second seed of the East. Now, this is where the drama really begins. Not the regular season, but the playoffs. The first round, they faced the Orlando Magic, a series that should have been 3 games, but it got extended to 4 due to Tracy McGrady catching fire in Game 3 in Orlando. The Bucks winning this round will be the first time the team advanced to the semifinals since the 88-89 season. It's almost 12 seasons, not going anywhere. Next round was the 6th seed Charlotte Hornets, the original Hornets. Now this round was frustrating for not just for me, but for the whole city of Milwaukee. But there was a reason why. This team had Baron Davis. I wouldn't say prime Baron Davis, but I think he was like his second year. But he was getting there to what the Baron Davis we know when he got to Golden State. Jamal Mashburn, David Wesley being supported by P.J. Brown, Jamal McGlure, future Milwaukee Buck, and Derek Coleman, who wasn't the same Derek Coleman for his Nets days, but he was still a threat to a point. I think, you know what? This Hornet team beat the 3rd seed Miami Heat. Actually, they swept them. I remember, I'm like, wow, they actually swept them. The Bucks won the first 2 games at home, but lost the next 3 games. Now down to 3 games to 2. Yeah, they was down 3 games to 2 this time. On the verge of elimination, Sam Cassell put up 33 and 11 assists in Charlotte, with Urban Johnson added 17 rebounds in the win. Game 7 back in Milwaukee was on a Sunday. I remember running back from church to watch this game. Glenn Robinson put up 29 points in a 104-95 win. Next up was the Philadelphia 76ers, the number 1 seed led by Allen Iverson, who also just went 7 games with the Toronto Raptors led by Vince Carter, who missed that last shot to win that Game 7. Well, yeah, no, Toronto Raptors would gain their vengeance in 17 years, but I ain't gonna talk about that right now. The 76ers were tough, mainly on defense, supposedly, but their offense was run by Allen Iverson, who was MVP. Mutombo also got there that same year in the trade, if I'm correct. Then they had Aaron McKee, Eric Snow, George Lynch, and amongst others. But this series, it wasn't without its authenticness, but I'll get on that pretty soon. The Sixers won the first game. Ray Allen would get 31, AI with 34. The final score 93-85. This series will also continue the budding rivalry with Ray Allen and Allen Iverson, who played against each other in college. Ray being at UConn and Iverson being at Georgetown, who was once in the Big East. I don't know if they are anymore. Things have changed since then. The second game, the Bucks got 92-78 in Philly, led by Ray Allen with 38, and the Bucks won the next one, leading the series 2-1. When Iverson wasn't scoring, as I remember, they would lose. The 2 games they lost at this point, Aaron McKee was the leading scorer. Yeah, the Bucks were up 2-1. I'm thinking in my head, like, they got 2 more games left. 11-year-old me was excited. But the Sixers won the next 2 in close games with Robinson leading the score for the Bucks. Now the Bucks would have their back against the wall once again, but in Game 6, Ray Allen would go off and go toe-to-toe with Allen Iverson. I'm going to say Ray Allen. But go toe-to-toe with Iverson, scoring 41 to beat the 76ers 110-100. Game 7 back in Philly. Yeah, there was one problem. Scott Williams, a necessary piece to the Bucks, averaging 7.9 points and getting 7 rebounds a game, almost 8. Big piece, I wouldn't say a big piece, but a piece to the Bulls' first 3 rings. So he had championship experience. Big piece to the scoring of the Bucks, mainly the hustle scoring, hustle rebounding for the Bucks. He was suspended for Game 7 all of a sudden because of a soft hit on AI. Can't hit the MVP. Yeah. In fact, during Game 6, which it happened, Williams was called for a flagrant run but wasn't ejected, kept playing, but upgraded to a flagrant 2 hours to 3 hours before the game. Does that sound kind of strange to you? 2 to 3 hours before a game? Yeah. Now, speaking of the rest, many who followed the series closely noticed something odd about the series. Ray Allen and I was about to call him Carl Lewis. Ray Allen and George Karl noticed going on to say that the calls were pretty much one-sided towards the Sixers. Game 1 and Game 4, no calls for the Bucks. They ain't getting anything. And they had stupid lane violations on San Cassell, which didn't make any sense. The Sixers finished the series actually with 186 times at the free throw line compared to the Bucks 120. 12-3 in technical fouls favoring the 76ers. They only got 3. Not one flagrant call was called on the Sixers, 5 on the Bucks. Glenn Robinson and Ray Allen couldn't get any calls down the stretch, no matter how hard they tried. And I think Iverson went it was garbage one game in Game 4. He went 10 for 32. But of course, he got bailed out. Yeah, Allen and Karl thought the series was rigged to get the Sixers to the finals. Well, mainly Iverson because he was box office to play against the Kobe and Shaq Lakers. Big market versus big market. No one wanted to see Bruce City, Milwaukee, a city of 500,000 to 900,000 people, play against the over 2 million glam and glitz and glamour of LA. Yeah, nobody wanted to see that. But Karl and Allen were both fined for what they said. I think it's fined for 58,000, 68,000, something ridiculous. But also I think Ray Allen got hurt down the stretch of that Game 7. I also think Glenn Robinson got ejected, but he probably got ejected because he was arguing about a call that he should never got. Anyways, the Sixers will lose 4-3. Not the Sixers, the Bucks will win 4-3. I was hurt. You can still hear the pissness in my voice right now. I don't even think I watched the finals past Game 1 of that finals that year. That's because I was still pissed off. But knowing the NBA was up to the tricks, it was confirmed many years later with the Kings and Lakers series in 2002 that the refs, they were rigging these games. They wanted to make sure they got the top-notch, NBA wanted the top-notch players in there. Well, anyways, 76ers will play the Lakers in the finals. Sixers win Game 1, but the rest was history after that. Lakers won the series 4-1. After that season, Scott Williams went to the Denver Nuggets, Lindsey Hunter went to the Lakers, and the Bucks fell apart in the next season. The Big Three disintegrated in the 2002-2003 season. with Ray Allen being traded to the Sonics for older Gary Payton, also Desmond Mason, who was a dunker and just recently won the dunk contest. Glenn Robinson was dealt with in the summer of 2002, sent to the Hawks, and Cassell went to the Timberwolves, leaving Michael Redd as the new star of the Bucks. The Bucks wouldn't win 50 games or advance to the conference finals again until 2019. But Glenn Robinson would win a ring with the San Antonio Spurs in 2005 as a role player, and then retired after that season due to knee injuries. When he retired, he was the Bucks' second all-time leading scorer behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but since then he has been overtaken by Giannis, who is now first in all-time leading scoring for the Bucks. Ray Allen, as we all know, played a couple of years on the Sonics before he joined up with the Celtics. Well, not joined, but traded to the Celtics, winning in a ring in 2008 and then again with the Heat in 2013, before retiring in 2015. Sam Cassell did some time in Minnesota, helping Kevin Garnett along with Latrell Sprewell get to the Western Conference Finals. Actually, I think that 2003-2004 season was one of Sam Cassell's best seasons, as he would get an All-Star nod, but after that season, Timberwolves were never the same. But Cassell found himself as a teammate with Ray Allen in Boston, winning in 2008. Tim Thomas would travel from the Knicks to the Bulls to the Suns to the Clippers, back to the Knicks, back to the Bulls, and then the Mavericks. But sat out the season with the Mavs when they won it all, but cared for his wife's illness. For the next few years, the Bucks struggled with Michael Redd. He would become the star, but they become star. They only made the playoffs a couple of times, and he also would go down to 2 ACL injuries. And like I said, they wouldn't win 50 games or advance. But in 2013, the Bucks found hope in that draft of 2013, and also traded for some more of that hope. Skip forward to 2019, the Bucks suffered the same fate as they did in 2001, losing to the Raptors, and then losing again the next year in the bubble to Miami, but advanced again to the conference finals in 2021 against the Atlanta Hawks, and the rest is history, winning the NBA Finals against the Phoenix Suns in 6 games, 20 years after that 2001 playoffs failure. But now that's all wonder under the bridge, for me at least. Maybe even for Toronto fans, as they receive the ring, beating Philly thanks to Kawhi, and the Bucks finally getting the ring. But since then, the 76ers have remained ringless since the 80s. And that pissed some Sixer fans off.